Hi, I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Theory Tuition series where I'm working with you step by step through the ABRSM Theory grades. We're cracking on through Grade 2 Theory, so grab your Music Theory and Practice workbook, Grade 2, and we'll be launching into that. There's lots of information and resource available to you on my website. If you go to sharonbill.com, you'll find some free PDF information sheets like this. They're available in US letter or A4 and they'll accompany each step of this series. All the information that you need to know will be included in this free PDF. Also on my webpage there's links to all of my YouTube video tutorials, and you can find information about the books that I have available. If you go to sharonbill.com, it's all there. If you're working towards your exam and you're aiming to take this exam with the ABRSM, I've written a book, How to Take Your ABRSM Music Theory Exam. It's an exam technique guide and it's full of hints and tips and techniques for how to best prepare for your exam, and also how to best make use of the time whilst you're actually sitting your exam paper. So that can help you along the way. Give me a like, that'd be really encouraging, and subscribe so that you stay updated. There's loads more in store, but for now we'll just get cracking on into the next section. And so if you turn in your theory book, and if you turn to page 18, we're going to be looking at pages 18 and 19 in this new subject of grouping notes and rests. So I will refer to this as section P, and then you can access the PDF sheet section P here, where I just summarise in short the points that are covered on all of page 18 and all of page 19. Now this looks like a dreadful amount of information to absorb, and it looks really complicated. However, it's quite easy to sort of distill down into a few basic points. This builds upon what we were learning in Grade 1 Section F, coincidentally, and also in your Grade 1 Theory in Practice workbook, Section P, as I refer to it on the video. And now we're learning more about grouping notes and rests simply because we've got so many new time signatures to reapply the information to. In principle, it's always beaming together mixtures of semiquavers and quavers, or 16th notes and 8th notes. Any combination of a mixture of those will always be grouped into a whole beat, a crotchet beat or a quarter note. So anything that adds up to a crotchet that's a mixture of time values would be beamed together. If it's 16th notes entirely, you would beam those together. We've still got the rules where we can beam in groups of 2 or 4 when we're talking about quavers or 8th notes. So we can beam those together in groups of crotchets or even minims. So we can group those in quarter notes and half notes, just like we said in Grade 1. The main exception to this is, and this is an easy one to remember, in 3/8, it's such a short bar. Basically, you can just slam anything together, any mixture, any amount to complete the whole bar can all be joined together. It's only in 3/8 that you can do that though. In any other time signature, you would never group together more than 4 semiquavers or 16th notes, because as we've just said, we need to group them in units of 1 beat. Sometimes when you're beaming groups together, we've already come across this just a little bit in previous exercises in this grade. Sometimes we have a sort of a conflict of interests where we've got notes where the stems go down and the stems go up. However, it's the majority that rules, either where most require the stem going down, the odd one out has to conform. Alternatively, you choose which one is furthest away from the middle line. Here it could go either way, because this one should be up, this one should be down. However, this lower note is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps away, whereas this one is only one step away. So this note here is only one step away from going either way, and so the one that needs it most kind of rules the day and outvotes the one that could be quite close to the line, as it were. So it just takes a little bit of juggling, deciding which way we have to choose. The majority rules though in that case. So really it's quite a simple addition. That's really the only new bit of information, and it's a nice easy new bit of information to remember, that just basically in 3/8 we can just beam everything. So that's a job done there. This next page looks like it's a horrendous amount of information all about rests. However, it's easiest to remember that basically every new beat requires a new rest. That's the overall rule. So every time there's a new beat, we need a new rest. So you would always add a single rest for a single beat. But just as we can group 4 quavers or 4 eighth notes into whatever equates to a minim or a half note, we can also do that kind of a shorthand rest where we can have a 2-beat rest. However, just like the beaming in grade 1, that rest can't straggle over the halfway point in the bar. If you're going to go over the halfway point, you would have to do 2 separate rests, because, you know, 4/4 is a large bar really. It's easy to get lost. Somebody's going to have to play this, and we need to always see at a quick glance each half of a bar, so we don't go over the halfway point of the bar, either beaming or spreading a rest over those 2 beats. So if it was across the middle, you'd need 2 separate beats. When we're thinking of adding a new beat to a new rest, a new rest to a new beat, that sounds more like it, you've always got to think about tidying up each beat first. So notice we've got a half beat here. We've got to finish off that remaining half beat to complete the 1 before we now add the 1. So you can easily see there's beat 1, there's beat 2. You're always tidying up. So the same again, half plus half makes 1. Now you can have your full beat rests. Imagine if you put that first, then that, and then you add this odd half at the end, sort of waiting around doing nothing. You've kind of put your rests on the off beat. We need to tidy up the beat first, complete that beat, and then we're back onto the main pulse. Same principle applies here. So we've got a 16th note or a semiquaver. We need to tidy that up, so that now makes our quaver or 8th note, and then we can have a new beat shown by each new rest. There we go. And then this here, we should have 2 minim beats per bar. This beat needs finishing and tidying up first before we then add our new single beat rest. So there we can clearly see that's 1 unit beat, there's the next unit beat. So you're always tidying up your unit beat, and that occurs at any point in the bar. So there's 1, and then that tidies up that. You wouldn't use a dot, you just use a fresh new rest to show the beat. So you don't straddle over the beats, because really that belongs to that, that belongs to that. Don't use more rests than you need to though, don't get carried away too far. So yes, that rest completes that note, but those 2 rests are much more easily read as a single 1 beat rest. However, more than just laboriously going over all of the information with this, I do think it's easier. So if we just turn the page over, it's better to just have a go and learn by your mistakes. And so we've been asked to tidy up these extracts by looking for any mistakes in beaming notes and writing rests, and to correct it and to write it out properly. So the effect will be exactly the same, but it's just so much easily legible rather than, look at the first one here. It's unnecessarily complicated to tie 2 half beats together, whereas a simple 1 beat will suffice. Remember, in grade 1 it says a dot is always better than a tie if at all possible, and that's much clearer to read as 1.5 beats. That just seems a little unnecessarily complicated. Remember, a semi-breve or a whole note rest is always just the shorthand for a full bar's rest, although technically it's too big for this bar. That is still the shorthand for a full bar's rest, so 2 separate beat rests is unnecessary. And then of course we can beam our quavers or 8th notes together. Here there are 3 together because the rule for 4 would apply, but as one of them's a rest, we can just continue that with a 3 there. So I will just work through this one with you, and then I suggest you just plough on through the rest and have a go. And it doesn't matter if you make a mistake, it's inevitable in actual fact in this section. Unless you're really hot on and you've grasped it straight away, it's usually better to learn by your mistakes. So I'll just work through this one with you just to talk you through it. And then you can perhaps just take it in sections. You haven't got to do this whole 2 pages in one go. Have a go, try a few, and then go back and try them again, and then try the next few. You perhaps haven't got to complete the whole 2 pages in one sitting just because it's on one video tutorial. It's probably better to do it in little chunks, I would suggest. So let's just take this as it comes and deal with things as they go along. Now this is a classic case of tidying up and finishing each beat off. So there's a half, and then quarter and quarter makes another half, so all of that together makes 1. There's our next beat, and we need to make sure that's perfectly readable as where each beat counts straight away. So the rest will stay as it is, but then these 2 will be beamed together. So although it's possible to have this as a beamed group, it would not be appropriate in this case because these 2 quarter beats finish this other half here, so that rounds up 1 beat. Those 2 belong together, not those 2 and that, because there's beat 1 and then here is beat 2, and then here again we have to decide which way does the stem go. This one should go up, this should go down. However, this one is only 1 step away, whereas this one is 3 steps away, so this one needs it more, and so the other one will have to follow suit. You get a bit of a break in this bar because there's nothing to change. Now here this looks unnecessarily complicated. We've got 1, 2, 3 half beat rests, whereas surely a 1 and then a half would be so much better. You don't use a dot. Remember, each new beat needs a new rest, and then that just leaves us with this 1 note which is unchanged, and again there. And so these 2 will sound exactly the same. However, it's much more simple in the layout and much easier to read. It's quite obvious. There's beat 1, there's beat 2, there's beat 1, there's beat 2, and we can see exactly where each beat falls. We've got to make the music as easy to read as possible because ultimately somebody's going to be playing this on an instrument. So maybe press pause and try the next couple, or the next 2 or 3, and then come back to the video and we'll go over those before you turn the page and attempt some of the others. So I think it's perhaps a good point to stop here There's lots to digest, so we'll have another crack at this next time. I do hope that this has been helpful to you. Please give me a like and subscribe to keep updated. We're getting really stuck into this and I'm so enjoying working through this with you. Please do go to sharonbill.com. There's lots of resource available to help you there. Do look into that and make use of everything that I've made available to you. Give me a like and a subscribe, that'd be fab, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.